2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions.
Remarks to the gentleman from South Carolina, I have very strong disagreement with a lot of the statements that Representative Omar has made. We've covered most of them. That some people did something is the one that really sticks in my craw pretty strongly. Raises a whole lot of flags for me. I think there are significant amount of justifications to raise.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberty.
The atmosphere inside the House chamber turned electric as Representative Ilhan Omar's remarks came under sharp scrutiny. Lawmakers across the aisle accused her of disregarding her oath of office, arguing that her comments regarding Somali interests had blurred the line between representation and allegiance. What began as a routine session quickly escalated into a heated confrontation that gripped the nation's attention. The center of the uproar were claims that Omar had placed Somalia's concerns above those of the United States, a charge her critics painted as a serious breach of trust. Supporters dismissed the accusations as politically motivated, but opponents insisted the issue went beyond partisanship. To them, it was a matter of loyalty, integrity, and the responsibility that comes with holding public office. The debate was no longer just about one statement. It was about what her words symbolized. Tensions reached a breaking point when lawmakers revisited one of Omar's most controversial past remarks, her now infamous phrase referring to the 9/11 attacks as "some people did something." For many, those 5 words reopened painful memories of one of America's darkest days. Her critics argued the comment reflected a lack of sensitivity toward the tragedy and the lives lost, describing it as deeply disrespectful to the victims and their families. South Carolina representatives were among the most vocal in expressing their outrage, emphasizing that public figures must speak about national tragedies with both accuracy and reverence. They contended that such statements, even if unintended, undermine unity and public trust. Meanwhile, Omar's defenders maintained that her words had been taken out of context and twisted into a political weapon. Still, the controversy has lingered like a shadow over her career. Each time her past remarks resurface, they reignite debates about patriotism, free expression, and accountability in public service. And once again, the House found itself at the intersection of passion, politics, and principle, questioning where the line between representation and responsibility truly lies.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen."
The debate inside Congress reached a boiling point when Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Chip Roy took the floor, igniting one of the most charged exchanges the chamber has witnessed in years. Their speeches weren't just policy disagreements. They were passionate indictments that questioned Ilhan Omar's commitment to American values. Every sentence landed with intensity as they accused her of undermining the nation's core principles and eroding the public's faith in its elected leaders. What began as a debate over accountability quickly evolved into a broader clash over loyalty and representation. Both Greene and Roy spoke with fierce conviction, their voices rising above the murmur of the House as they demanded a formal rebuke. They argued that Omar's previous remarks and actions went beyond political missteps. In their view, they reflected a deeper conflict with the responsibilities of her office. The atmosphere in the chamber shifted from debate to reckoning as every word echoed through the hall. Then came the pivotal moment. Representative Greene introduced a resolution formally censuring Ilhan Omar, a rare and serious move in congressional history. The document accused Omar of breaching her oath of office and referenced the solemn promise made during her naturalization ceremony, in which she pledged to renounce all loyalty to foreign powers. The framing was deliberate, painting the issue not just as political misconduct but as a question of constitutional duty. To her argument, Greene invoked history. She read excerpts from George Washington's farewell address, a warning written centuries ago against the dangers of divided loyalty and the seduction of foreign influence. The quotation added a sense of gravity and symbolism to the moment, tying the modern controversy to America's earliest warnings about patriotism and public trust. As the chamber fell quiet, lawmakers absorbed the weight of her words. Whether one agreed with the resolution or not, the message was clear. This wasn't merely a political skirmish, but a test of how Congress defines allegiance, accountability, and the limits of dissent in a democracy.
Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued.
The resolution pointed directly to remarks Ilhan Omar made in Minneapolis back in January 2024. Comments that quickly became the centerpiece of controversy. In that speech, she reportedly assured members of the Somali American community that U.S. policies would continue to reflect their interests. To Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, those words were more than concerning. She saw them as evidence that Omar had blurred the line between representing her constituents and advancing foreign priorities. Greene's argument struck like a political lightning bolt. She claimed that Omar's statement suggested an allegiance beyond the borders of the United States, portraying her actions as those of someone using her position to protect another nation's resources and influence. The charge that a sitting member of Congress was operating in conflict with American interests sent shockwaves through the chamber and across the media. Instantly, the discussion turned into a fierce debate about what defines free speech versus where it potentially crosses into disloyalty. Lawmakers wrestled with difficult questions. Was this simply a poorly phrased comment taken out of context, or something far more serious? Could a representative's empathy for their heritage be misinterpreted as foreign allegiance? These were not just legal questions but moral ones, touching the very heart of what it means to serve in public office. As Greene's speech concluded, Representative Chip Roy took the floor with the same fire and conviction. He framed the controversy as part of a deeper, long-brewing problem within Washington, one where loyalty, ideology, and political gain often collide with duty and integrity. Drawing on past moments of division, Roy invoked historical congressional showdowns, from heated judicial nomination fights to the battles over the so-called nuclear option. His point was clear: every era faces a test of principle, and this was one of them. Roy's voice carried weight as he spoke about preserving the constitutional order and ensuring that trust in Congress remained unshaken. He insisted that allowing words or actions that questioned that trust to go unchecked would send the wrong message to the American people. His delivery was fiery yet controlled, his tone reflecting both frustration and resolve. By the time he stepped back, it was clear this wasn't merely about one member's statement, but about how far Congress was willing to go to defend the integrity of its institution.
For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American.
Critics of Representative Ilhan Omar didn't hold back. They portrayed her as a lawmaker who often challenged core American principles while appearing to sympathize with more radical or globalist viewpoints. They pointed to her voting record as proof, arguing that she opposed stronger border measures, backed lenient criminal justice reforms, and supported international policies that, in their view, diluted U.S. sovereignty. Each example, they said, painted a picture of someone whose priorities were misaligned with the concerns of everyday Americans. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene seized on that narrative with unflinching confidence. Her speech drove home the argument that Omar's actions and words reflected values far removed from the people she was elected to save. Greene accused her of putting ideology above country, insisting that her stances consistently clashed with the spirit of American independence and unity. Her message hit hard among conservatives, many of whom have long seen Omar as one of the most polarizing figures in Washington politics. But this moment wasn't just another partisan clash. It became a defining rally cry for those pushing an America First agenda. Greene and Representative Chip Roy framed the debate not merely as a disagreement over policy, but as a moral test. They asked whether Congress would stand firmly behind the Constitution or look the other way when its principles were questioned. In their eyes, this was about more than a single member. It was about drawing a line between patriotism and complacency. The intensity of their words rippled beyond party lines. Some independents and even a handful of Democrats began to privately acknowledge growing frustration over the repeated controversies surrounding Omar. To them, the discussion was less about partisanship and more about accountability. The speeches from Greene and Roy symbolized a political crossroads, a point where members of Congress could no longer rely on cautious diplomacy or political correctness. Instead, they were forced to face a difficult question head-on. Where does loyalty truly lie? And what does it mean to defend the nation's values in an age of global complexity?